Hi, Chris Chinnock here, Insight Media, with Jeff Yurek here from Nanosys, Shohei Nanosys.
Yep.
I guess is the right way of saying it.
Nanosys, we're still a part of Shoei now, but yeah, we call ourselves Nanosys still.
Okay. So one of the cool things that happened at the trade show this year at CES is Hisense talking about actually two different display solutions. And it's been a little confusing on their messaging, so let's try and unpack this a little bit.
Sure.
Right, so they've announced one is supposed to be an LCD display with an RGB backlights, mini LED backlights, plus a cyan element in there.
Right.
The second one is a direct view micro LED display with RGB plus a yellow micro LED. Is that your understanding of what they're doing?
That's what I understand too. I did a quick tour through the booth and that's what I saw as well. Yeah, it was a little confusing to me at first, but that's what I think we're seeing there.
Okay, so let's talk about why.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very interested to see these products in action and kind of measure them and sort of see how they perform. The Cyan one is especially interesting. I think it seems to be a blue light health story primarily there, where you can, in theory, you could just turn on and off those two blue LEDs. So you've got the sort of sky blue, and you can make that your blue primary and turn off the deep blue and just sort of have that as a, your healthy blue light mode if you want that, and then have the more color accurate deep blue mode.
Yep.
But I think what they're saying is they're going to modulate it in real time.
So they would be using both.
Okay. Which is very interesting, and I wonder how that will be. It sounds to me very challenging to manage because you only have, first you only have RGB data coming into the TV in the signal, and then you still have the red, green, and blue subpixels.
Yep.
And so you're passing those two colors, the sky blue and the deep blue, through the blue subpixel.
And the blue color filter.
Exactly, and the blue color filter.
Right.
And then probably there's some cross-talking to the green subpixel as well.
Right.
Could you develop an algorithm that really helps you make sense of that and use that in a way that really improves image quality? I don't know. I think it'll be very challenging though.
Yeah, well, I would assume they've got some kind of algorithm to manage that. I guess we have to see exactly what it's going to be doing though.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they haven't been very forthcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yet.
Classic CES though. You got to wait till you get your hands on these products and
exactly
see what's going on. Yeah.
Okay, and then on the micro LED side, adding a yellow.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Sharp did this many years ago, somewhat for getting more brightness out of the LCDs at the time.
Right.
It did add value in the rendition of golds and brass.
Yep.
Was the color. Yep. So why are they doing it?
Yeah, golds and kind of those brassy gold colors are traditionally very challenging for especially LCDs to reproduce. They're the brightest saturated color that you can create out of a display. And so when Sharp did it, they had a traditional white LED, which is a blue LED with a very broad yellow YAG phosphor on top. And so in that case, you're making a lot of yellow light, but you're filtering it out, right, in a traditional LCD. And you have very weak sort of red and green primaries. And so I always thought there was some sense to that where you wanted to recapture some of that yellow energy and make use of it. And you also had relatively poor red and green primaries with which to make yellow. And so adding that yellow was a way to, get something new out of it. When you think about an RGB micro LED direct view display, you have very high brightness from the RGB micro LEDs. And you also have very saturated reds and greens with which to make, very good
yellows,
golds and yellows.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't strike me as a place where there's a tremendous, need from an efficiency or sort of color saturation standpoint. But I'm sure you can, bump that out just a little bit and get a little more yellow that you otherwise wouldn't with that approach. So again, it'd be very interesting to see how they measure.
Yeah. And you've got the same processing issues, right? RGB primary signal coming in.
Sure.
How do you process this?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe there are some ways to I'm just really literally thinking out loud, to use that to boost efficiency, and use that yellow in making white in some situations. I'm not sure. I mean, it'd be really interesting to see.
You might think adding a cyan LED versus a yellow one would make more sense, just because of what they're doing on the LCD side as well.
Exactly. Well, so I mean, I've long thought. I mean, if anyone who looks at sort of a CIE chromaticity diagram, cyan is like the great uncharted territory that's not explored there, right? And so, like, if you're going to add another primary, that's to me the most potentially interesting.
I would think so. Yeah.
And you can look at a startup like 6P that's been working on that. I think they've been doing some interesting things there.
Yeah.
In my mind, I've always thought that would be a direct view first application.
Yeah.
Again, because of the color filter issue kind of clouding the benefit on the LCD side. So again, don't have really the data for that yet either. So
yes,
I don't know. It's interesting. It's always interesting when we see these new technologies at CES and see what's going to stick or where things are going.
And the next thing is BT 2020.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying, "Oh, it's 100% of BT 2020."
Sure.
It's not.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
Right.
If it's coverage or area.
So I think the brands are being truthful when they're saying that, because they mean in terms of area.
Right.
Just raw area. And in fact, I think some of them are over 100% area of BT 2020. So I do believe they are meeting that.
Which means the primaries are not where the BT 2020 primaries are, and by shifting those primaries, you get a larger area, a larger space.
Yes, and one of the challenges for BT 2020 coverage is that the primaries are pure monochromatic light,
right?
And they're right on the spectral locus of the CIE diagram, and so the geometry becomes very challenging. If you're off by 1 nanometer peak wavelength, you're slicing off a huge piece of area all the way down the triangle, even if 2 of your primaries are perfect.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's quite hard to get to 100% coverage of BT 2020.
Yes. Only lasers are really going to get you there.
And we can say clearly it's impossible to do that with an LED system, with a quantum dot system, with really an OLED system.
Right.
You really need lasers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even in an LCD application, you have color filter crosstalk. So even if you had a laser attuned to those primaries, you'd have green leaking through the blue subpixel.
Yeah.
So you need to modulate the laser, turn off the green laser and then only measure the blue primary, that kind of thing.
So no shortage of controversy here at CES.
Exactly. Classic CES.
Classic CES. So let's leave it there, shall we, Jeff?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.